everyone, it's Mithril and welcome back to my journey of learning to draw. So remember that video I made about 4 months ago where I talked about how I really wanted to go to art school and I'd probably be doing that within the next 3 to 4 years? Well, that time has arrived and I decided that I'll be quitting my job as an actuarial analyst and studying art full-time for a year starting in September. So I feel like I need to do a little bit of explanation on how I got here, what I'll be studying, and what's going to happen here moving forward. Let's start with some background about me and my relationship to art and myself. Growing up, I did all the normal art things that kids do, making masterpieces such as these, and doing school art projects and stuff like that. I remember ever since I was very young that my parents didn't like art, or they didn't like me doing art. Like, I distinctly remember being super proud of this painting and bringing it to my mom and asking her to hang it up. And she told me to come back when I made something that was actually worth hanging up. Mostly, they allowed me to draw and have fun with it, but they always made sure to keep reminding me that art was something for fun. Art was not to do as a job. Artist was something I could not become when I grew up. And they encouraged me to stick to things that I was good at, like math and science. And my mom would be like, "Oh, don't you love Grey's Anatomy? Don't you want to be a doctor like them? You should work hard at your math and your science so then you can get into med school. You should stop getting distracted by these things that you have no talent in and just keep working on the things that you're already good at." And I always felt like in my heart that I really wasn't that good at math and science. It's just that it was all I did. So then I got better at it. And that's not to say that my parents hated artistic things. When I was in middle school, I was in choir, I did theater, and I was on dance team. Outside of that, they paid for piano lessons, and I went to this little dance theater school thing to learn acting, dancing, and singing. I went through this phase of wanting to be an actor, and my mom actually hooked me up with a gig to be an extra on a TV show. But they made it very, very clear that all of this stuff was just for fun, and that I should never think of doing any of this stuff professionally. Over time, I just wanted to make my parents happy because life was just easier that way. When I got good grades, they were happy. They paid me for A's. They always told me that there was nothing else in my life that was as important as doing well in school, and that it would be worth putting off having any hobbies or making any friends if that meant I could do even better in school. So yeah, I didn't have any. I didn't have any hobbies or any friends. And I worked really, really hard in school, like extremely try-hard level good. I had all A's my entire life until like my last semester of college. At the end of middle school, I moved and I'd be attending a high school in a new school district. Since all the students had taken care of registering for classes at the end of their last semester, my dad took me into the front office the day before the first day of classes so I could sign up for my classes and get that all sorted out. I got to look through this huge guide full of all the classes that would be offered this next semester, and I needed to choose an elective. So I looked through all of them and I was like, ooh, band looks like fun. But I seem to remember that you're not really allowed to do band in high school unless you'd already done band in middle school, because they don't really teach you how to play the instrument. They just like bring you to a higher level or something like that. Now that I think about it, I never really got this confirmed for me, but I told myself I'm not doing band because I don't know any instruments. And then I saw art. And I never really thought about doing art or anything like that, but it just seemed like fun. Like, I knew people who had gone through high school art classes and done AP art, and their art was fantastic. They had an amazing portfolio, and I was like, maybe that could be me. Maybe I could branch out a little and try out something new. So I said, hey, maybe I should do art. And my dad lowered his voice and told me that he was worried that I wouldn't be as good as the other kids in the class, and that these classes were for people who had a natural talent for art and already knew how to draw, and that I should stick to the things that I had a natural talent for, instead of trying something new that I might fail at and feel embarrassed for. So then I decided to do JROTC instead. For anyone outside of the US, JROTC is the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, and it's like a military-funded school program run by retired military officers. Depending on the type of officers who are running the program at a particular school, they would be Army, Navy, Air Force, or Marine Corps. And in this class, you learn things like citizenship, leadership, and patriotism. You do physical training, and you can participate in things like drill, color guard, and academic competitions. And if you decide to join the military after graduation, you get to join at a higher rank if you participated in JROTC in high school. Looking back on it, it feels kind of dystopic, getting kids into that military pipeline real early. But I legitimately had a really good time doing this. Like, I learned a lot about myself and I gained a lot of confidence. So it's not like I feel like that fork in my life ruined my life or anything and it was a horrible choice. It was just more proof to me that my parents didn't want me to do anything having to do with art, and that my lack of talent in art was so apparent that my dad was trying to save me from the embarrassment of even trying. In the end, I did JROTC for 2 years before I switched schools again. This time, I went to a special magnet school for mathematics and science. Basically, we were honorary college students living in the dorms and taking college classes for the last 2 years of high school. To me, it seemed like a good opportunity because I really wanted independence and to get away from my parents. Plus, I didn't have any friends I'd be leaving behind, and my normal classes were kind of boring me, so I felt like this would be fun. And my parents wanted me to do it because it would be more academically rigorous, I'd have college credits that I could transfer after graduation, and they thought that having academically rigorous peers would be a good influence on me. When I got there, I felt like everybody there was so much more amazing and so much smarter than I was. Like, they were doing all these amazing things like founding tech startups, actually wanting to take these advanced math classes, and making amazing art. So of course we all had great grades and high SAT scores, so they were doing all this stuff on top of these rigorous academic standards, and all I had were the grades and the test results. I didn't have any friends or projects or hobbies. I was an empty shell who could only pass tests. And passing tests made me happy because it was the only thing that would make my parents proud of me, and they would tell me I did a good job. And there were other people like me, of course, whose self-worth rested only on their grades and their parents' expectations. Let's just say there was a lot of cheating and mental health problems amongst our group. I remember hating math all throughout the program. But I was also the one who was trying to help other people by organizing study groups and teaching them, because that was the way that I learned the material, by sort of puzzling it out with someone else. I was also just really lonely, and I thought that if I helped people out with their homework and learning the material, that they would spend time with me and get to know me and want to be my friend. Spoiler alert, this method does not work. But people would always say to me, "Oh my god, Myth, how are you so smart? How do you just learn it like that?" And I would think to myself, I don't though. I'm not though. You don't see how during every lecture when you're on your phone, I'm there taking notes the whole time. Every day after classes, I'm there doing the homework, reading the textbooks, camping out in front of my professors' offices every day to ask them questions because I just didn't understand anything. I only knew this stuff because I was trying so hard to understand it so I could get those grades. Because school was the only thing that I was good at, and it proved that I was smart. And I wanted to be smart, so I tried hard to be really good at it. After I finished my last required math class, I promised myself that I would never take another math class in my life. One really cool thing about this program, though, is that we were allowed to take any classes that we wanted, even major specific classes, as long as we stayed under 18 credit hours a semester. So in my third semester, I decided to take Drawing 1, which was for the art and design majors. And it was really cool to be in a space where I felt like art was valued and a skill that was worth developing, and I had such a knowledgeable teacher to teach me things and that I could ask questions to. I'd done some sketching and tried to study a bit of art from random art books, but being in this class and being held to such a higher standard really pushed me beyond what I thought I was capable of doing. I looked at my work and I thought, whoa, it looks like somebody who actually has some talent made this, but I didn't have any. All I did was work really hard on it and spend so much time on these assignments that I was somehow tricking people into thinking I had any kind of artistic ability inside of me. My final project was even chosen to be in the first year showcase by my professor, which just blew me away. However, I walked away from that class feeling like I never wanted to take an art class for a grade ever again. I liked being pushed to create great things and learning, but spending 20 hours in the studio on top of my other classes, and feeling sick to my stomach turning in every homework assignment because I felt like art was just so subjective and I didn't even know if I did it right, and having all that affect my GPA was such a stressful experience for that entire semester. Anyway, eventually I graduated from high school and I applied to college. I still didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to do graphic design because it seemed like the artistic thing that was closest to a real job, but my parents absolutely shut that down immediately. I ended up applying as a nutrition major, and I had a crisis the day before the first day of classes, and I switched my major to math because I was planning on applying to transfer to the business school. Because that's what everybody seems to do when they have no idea what they want to do with their life, but they also want to make money. That's when I discovered the actuarial department within the math department, and I was like, why not? I was pretty into FIRE at this point, financial independence, retire early, and this seemed like the perfect job to do it. Supposedly, the pay is high, the work-life balance is good, the work is straightforward, and the unemployment rate was low. And something that really appealed to me was that you can get raises and promotions just by passing exams. And I know that sounds horrible to a lot of you out there, but for me, that was the one thing that I could do. By then, I was a lean, mean, exam-passing machine. And it's not that I like math, or even enjoy it, as we established earlier. I just knew that I could do it if I put my mind to it. So I gave up on transferring to the business school and just focused on passing my classes, and I passed 3 exams by the time I graduated. All the while, I didn't make any friends, I didn't join any clubs other than Actuarial Science Club, develop any hobbies, or myself for that matter. I cried a lot, I complained to my mom, I felt like I was working so hard and for what? And she told me that life gets so much easier after college that I just need to buckle down and finish this, and after I graduate, I'll have money, I'll have freedom, I'll have a steady job, and plenty of time to do whatever useless hobbies I wanted to do. Then I could just work the job, do some hobbies, live super frugally, retire at like 35 or something, and do painting and community theater off into the sunset. That made sense to me at the time. I got to pass exams, which I was good at, and I got to make my parents happy. Then eventually I'd get what I wanted too, when I was 35 or something like that. I started this channel when I was in my second semester of college after being inspired by Mike Boyd's channel and his series Learn Quick. Basically, the premise was seeing how fast he could learn to do some random thing like stack dice or split an apple with his hands without following any tutorials or guides for it. Seeing him take on all these random challenges and being able to improve with just some elbow grease and determination started me on my journey toward believing that talent was a myth. In a few days, he could go from the skill level of any random person in this skill, which was 0, and get to the point where he made it look easy. And I thought, maybe this is true for other stuff too. Just like how I seem to make doing well in school look easy to other people when they don't see all the hard work I had to put in behind the scenes. Maybe this was true for other things too. Maybe I could learn to do art even if I wasn't born very good at it. So this semester, I was taking this random class that I thought sounded cool called The Entrepreneurial Artist, and we were learning about a topic called effectual entrepreneurship. Basically, the concept of this is that many great businesses come from utilizing the stuff that you have now, rather than trying to make a list of all the things that you need and then getting those before you can start your business. And that the mythical entrepreneur who has the perfect idea and all the venture capital and blah 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 just really isn't how most companies are started. And it's definitely not something that you should seek to recreate before starting a business. So for the final project, we had to present a business idea that leverages only the stuff that we have now. And my idea was a channel like Mike Boyd's. Except instead of learning random stuff, it would be one skill, art, over a long period of time, and showing all the failures and successes along the way. My central argument was that popular artists these days are popular and create content because they're already good at art. No matter how much they talk about how they didn't always have the skills that they had and how hard they have to work for them, it just doesn't feel the same as seeing those skills develop before your very eyes, like in those Mike Boyd videos. And someone who talks about what helped them learn art in hindsight just doesn't have that beginner's brain anymore. After so many years as a master, you just literally forget how you even got there in the first place. And you feel like so many things are obvious that weren't always so obvious back in the day. And plus, it feels like so many people had the same story where they were just like, I really liked art as a kid and I drew a lot and I got good and I don't really know how to explain my process at all, it just happens. I feel like stories like that just helped reinforce for me that it was too late to pursue art. I had too little support, I had too little talent to do that practice every day, whatever. I wanted to be that person that I wanted in that moment. The person who didn't draw all throughout their childhood, who wasn't the artistic kid growing up, but for some reason had the audacity to record their thoughts as they dared to try and learn art. I got some support for the idea in the class and I thought, fuck it, I should just make this channel. After all, I have everything that I need. A microphone, a webcam, and zero childhood art prodigy vibes. I was actually a creepypasta narrator before I decided to completely change the direction of my channel at this point. Those old videos are still up, in case you wanted to go back and take a look. At this point, I really didn't believe in myself very much, and I didn't really make that much progress, especially because I only did my art practice and made new videos like between school semesters because I had zero work-life balance and I couldn't figure out how to make anything fit together with school. During that time, I had a lot of fun making videos for this channel, and occasionally somebody would come by and put in so much effort to making a heartfelt comment to me, and I could live on a comment for like a whole year and I would think about it while I was making those videos. So thank you to everyone who supported me during that time. I graduated in December 2019 and I was just tired. I was burnt out. I wanted to take a gap year between graduating from college and getting a job because I just really haven't had a break up until now. I've just been taking classes, taking summer classes, and just really going hard. But my mom was really nervous about that, so she just really pushed me to keep applying for jobs, just sort of casually in case a good opportunity came up. So that was December, and then in January 2020, COVID started to become a thing, and by the end of the month, I had stopped going outside, and I was just really freaked out by the whole situation. I realized that something economically was happening, so I basically canceled my gap year and started looking for a job hardcore. In March, I was invited to a job interview and they said that they would fly me out to Chicago, and I was like, I don't know about that, fam. I don't really feel safe going to the outside. And they were like, okay, we can do it virtually maybe. Next week, they came back to me and they said they had canceled all travel indefinitely until further notice. In the end, I started that actuarial job remotely in May, and I moved to Chicago in June, and I didn't end up going into the office until last month, so I really just should have stayed in Texas, paid less rent, and not paid income taxes, but who could have known back then? So after starting that job, I started studying for my 4th exam. So you guys pretty much know my art story from there. I tried Drawbox, I did some other courses. I made a bit of progress, but not too much. My goal with art has never been to do it as a job or professionally, because that just felt like the fastest way to stop enjoying something altogether. I have a lot of goals for my art, but I feel like the main one is just being able to appreciate the things that I love on a deeper level. Like, I loved watching Hamilton animatics and seeing how a skilled artist could take something that they love, pay homage to it, and even elevate it in their own way was just amazing to me. I loved seeing people make fan art and making arrangements of their favorite songs, and make ice skating choreography and dancing and cosplay. and being able to become not only a consumer, but a participant, a creator in these communities. So after fumbling around for a few years, I found Evolve Artist after a viewer of mine actually messaged me asking about it. And I was really skeptical at first because in all my years online here in the art learning community, I'd never heard of it before. But after watching Kevin's story, after seeing the philosophy of Evolve Artist, it felt like exactly what I was looking for. So a week later, I got it and I started painting. At this point, I was in the middle of my 4th actuarial exam, so I had to squeeze in my painting around my full-time 9-to-5 job, plus studying for 2 to 3 hours a day. And eventually I had to drop everything except for the exam in the few weeks leading up to the exam day. Then I took it and I had 2 months to breathe again before I had to start studying for the next one because I needed to get my results back and they had to take their sweet time grading it. I passed it, got my bonus and my raise, and I was off to studying for my next exam. At this point, I was feeling pretty frustrated with my lifestyle. I felt like I really wasn't where I wanted to be. I mean, my mom had promised that life would be so much better after I graduated, but I still felt like I had no time and that I was just always going to be stuck in this preparation phase waiting to start my life. Because of these exams, I had no time to dedicate myself to my hobbies. I had no time to actually start getting out and making friends for the first time. And on one hand, I felt like there was an end goal in sight, which is passing the rest of my exams, plus my modules, and being fully credentialed. But then what was my life after that? Like, I didn't feel fulfilled by my job. This wasn't something I was passionate about. It would be just for the money. And as the pandemic went on and quarantine went on, it felt less and less worth it to live my life this way. At some point, the idea of doing art school after I passed all my exams hit me, and I was like, hey, that sounds like a fun idea. It would be something that I can look forward to after I earn it by passing all my exams. From my experiences before, I know that I work really well in an academic environment, and that I would definitely be able to make a lot of progress if I was able to find the right program. Plus, since grades don't matter anymore, I'm graduated, I have a job and skills, that I wouldn't have to worry about my grades or my GPA, and that huge source of stress wouldn't be there anymore. I ended up talking to a lot of people about it, and I ended up bringing it up with Kevin, and he was like, why don't you just come here to the Art Academy in New Jersey this year and study full-time, doing the full-time program for a year? And I was like, no way, I couldn't do that. I still have my exams to pass, like I need more work experience, blah, blah, blah. And like, I can't quit this halfway through, like my parents would be so disappointed in me. I finally found something that my parents were happy to let me do. So at that point I thought, okay, I'll go study at the Art Academy, but only in 3 years after I finish all my exams and I have Evolve Artist blocks 1 through 8 all finished. I'll be fully credentialed, I'll have 4 years of work experience, it'll be great, it'll be perfect. But then I just got more and more unhappy with my work and my life, and I just felt unfulfilled in general. I felt like this type of work was not my passion. I didn't feel like I was making a positive impact on the world through my job. I talked to a lot of different people about it, and they kept on saying stuff like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you want to be doing? And like, my only thought would just be, not this. I don't want to be doing this. I don't know where I want to be, but not here. But then I thought, what else would I do? I don't have any other plans. Around this point, I also got a bunch of YouTube videos recommended to me about people who had quit their jobs and they were now realigning their life such that their career is not their only source of fulfillment for them. And I was getting a bunch of like TikToks in this sort of genre too. I don't know if anyone else got those kinds of videos or if they had just like smelled my sadness through the screen, but that kind of stuff was definitely getting my gears turning a little bit more. I felt really resistant and nervous about quitting because I felt like I finally found something that I could tolerate and that would make my family happy and proud of me. But I also realized that I've never made a decision before about myself and what I wanted. Part of me wanted to finish my exams just to prove that I was smart to the world. I feel like this probably goes without saying at this point, but my whole life I haven't had a lot of self-confidence, self-esteem. My worth is really based on what other people think of me and how I portray myself. So I felt like I needed to pass these exams so I could prove to other people that I was smart and that I was worthy and that I could accomplish things. I was worried about being seen as just another aspiring artist slash YouTuber person who had no skills and who couldn't do anything in the real world. My whole life, my only defining character trait is that I got all A's, and without that, who would I even be? To turn around now and say that none of that actually matters, none of it really proved anything about me, and that I need to define my own values, my own happiness, and figure out what I want to do with my own life, that is so scary and stressful, and I'm still going through that right now. So because of all my experiences with my parents in the past, I didn't want to tell them that I was doing anything related to Evolve. I didn't want to tell them that I was planning on doing art school because I felt like they would just talk me out of it again, and I was starting to grow my own brain muscles and figure out who I wanted to be, and I didn't want their influence to distract me from myself again. So then after taking my 5th exam, I went home to visit my family, and I sort of told them hey, I'm kind of sort of planning on taking a year off, maybe in a couple years, and yeah. And my mom was like, oh, I want to take a year off too, and I want to travel, and I'm like, yeah, something like that. And I went to go visit my dad, and slight background, I have a stepsister. I'm not very close to her. She's from China and she's in the US now. That's pretty much all I knew, and we're about the same age. I think she's a year younger than me. And this part is important to the story. She's always been really, really good at art. So I got home and I asked my dad, hey, what's my stepsister up to? And he was like, oh, she's at the Savannah College of Art and Design studying animation. And I was like, huh, interesting. So then I got back here to Chicago and I was having just this turmoil. I was sick to my stomach. I was thinking about this all day, every day, trying to figure out how to make the right choice. And so randomly out of the blue, somebody from my math and science academy reached out and they were like, hey, I'm gonna be in Chicago in a few months. Do you want to catch up? And I was like, sure. And I told this person about my whole dilemma, and I'm like, I just want to quit my job and go study art. And they were like, do it. And I was like, excuse me, what? And they were like, do it! And they told me their whole story of after they had graduated, they were not very happy doing what they were doing, and they ended up going to this design boot camp, and they got a couple different jobs doing design until they got to a position that they liked, and they were like, yeah, I make 6 figures now, I have great work-life balance, and I get to do my own art on the side, and I still get to do something creative for work. There's money in art if you make something that businesses can make money off of. You just need to go look for it. And I was like, wow, I wish I could have that tenacity. I wish I could have that confidence. I wish I could make that move, but I don't know. I think I can't. I need the stability. How am I gonna know if I can make enough money to support myself if I try to go for it? So I was like, I don't know, I'll think about it. And that was that conversation. Part of my struggle throughout this entire process was I didn't have any other actuaries to talk to about this dilemma. I didn't really know any other than my coworkers, and I couldn't ask them about whether or not I should quit my job. So somebody that I kind of worked with a little bit had quit, so I messaged her on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, so it was good working with you. Would you mind giving me some career advice? So then I call her up and I'm just like, why did you quit? And she kind of laughed and she was like, actuarial work was never for me. I've worked at a couple different companies in a couple different positions, and I always felt like maybe the job wasn't right, maybe the company wasn't right, maybe the location wasn't right, but I just never really enjoyed it. I see other people who are so passionate about the work and they're so good at it and they have all these aspirations, and I just had none. It really drove it home for me when I was in a one-on-one meeting with boss, and he asked me, Like, whose job do you see yourself in 5 years? And I thought, none of them. None of them sound good. I don't want a leadership position. I don't even want to keep doing this. And so then I decided to find another job in a different industry, and I'm there now, and everything just feels better. Like, starting the first day, just all the tension from my body was gone, and I knew I was in the right place. And I was like, hello? And I was like, yeah, I'm thinking of quitting. I feel like actuarial work is not my passion. It's not really for me. I hate passing these exams, and I'm just going out of my mind. And she was like, you should absolutely quit. Like, I should have quit so much earlier. And she was like, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 22. And she was like, girl, I am 32. Don't wait too long like I did. And I was like, noted. And I feel like that conversation is really the one that made up my mind. And then over the next few days, somewhere in there, I thought to myself, I am doing it this year. I've decided that it's not worth staying here anymore, and I want a new life for myself. And the second I made that decision, like, all the stomach tumbles, the butterflies, like the stress, the thoughts, everything just evaporated. And I just felt so free. And I felt like, I don't even know how to describe it. I feel like I'm finally living my life. My entire life up until now, I feel like I've just been preparing. I'm in the tutorial stage. I'm grinding for resources. I'm grinding for exams. And I feel like I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting. And now I feel like I'm living. I made it. And I know I'm gonna be going to school. I'm gonna be going to class. I'm gonna be studying things. But it just feels different somehow. It's because it's the life that I want to live. It's the life that I am choosing for myself for the first time. And I just feel so liberated, free, happy. So I messaged Kevin and I was like, I'm gonna do it. I want to do it this year. But I still need to figure out the financials because they're gonna be pretty tight. He was like, okay. And he got back to me a few days later. He was like, I think we can work with you because of the videos that you've been making. A lot of people have found Evolve and signed up for the program, and we want to offer to cover your tuition for you in order to study at the Art Academy for the year. And I was like, oh my God. Like, thank you so much to the Evolve team. Thank you to everyone who has been watching me and supporting me. And he said that in return, he wanted me to keep making videos about the program and about my progress while I'm there studying. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So then I started telling some of my friends about it. So my parents were the last to know because I was afraid that my resolve wouldn't be strong enough unless I already had put all the pieces into place beforehand and gotten everything prepared, and I didn't want them to be able to talk me out of it. So I called up my parents and told them what my plans were. My dad was like, all right, you're a crazy person. I've always known that you were stubborn. So good luck and have fun for the year. And I was like, okay, thanks, Dad. But my mom, she was like, you better super duper pinky swear promise that this is just for fun. You're not trying to do it as a career. This is only a hobby. You're not going to be a professional because you're going to starve. And like, there's nothing that you can do with art skills and make any money. Like, what can you even do? And I was like, Kevin said that he was trying to make some more academies that were teaching his technique, and that if I wanted, he could teach me how to teach it and I could found my own school afterward. And I told her some of the money numbers that Kevin had given me for how much I could make running one of these schools. And my mom was like, I don't believe it. There's no way somebody can make that much money. Like, if you become an artist or do anything art related, you're definitely gonna starve and you're only gonna be good enough to teach little kids. And I was like, all right, we'll see. And I don't know, I felt okay. I've met so many amazing friends, mentors, and peers through this channel, through Evolve, and they're all supporting me in this decision, and they believe in me, and you guys are here for me and believe in me, and I've started to believe in myself, and at this point, I don't only get my validation through what my parents think of me anymore, and I feel like that's called character development. So last month, I made up my mind fully and I asked Kevin, so what do I need to do between now and then in order to get ready to study at the Art Academy? And he said that he wanted me to finish Block 3 and get a little bit into Block 4, and that would put me in a really good spot to just hit the ground running when I get there in September. So basically, I'm working like a crazy person trying to get through as many of these Block 3 paintings as I can. I'm on homework 13 right now, so I just need to do another like 9, 10, 11 paintings before the end of a month and a half. Wish me luck. I'm looking for apartments in the New Jersey area. I've put in my notice at work, and I found a remote part-time job to help support myself while I'm there in New Jersey. It's not going to cover everything, so I will have to dip into my savings quite a bit to make this happen. At this point, I'm not aiming for any particular art career or job, and I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do after the year is up. Part of me wants to do this because this is the gap year that I want back, that I missed because of the pandemic. And I want to do something crazy and adventurous before I gain even more people relying on me and liabilities and all that kind of stuff. And I also want this time to find myself and do something that I chose for myself, rather than something I'm doing because I think it'll make me look cool to others, or that will make my parents happy, or that I think is just what I should be doing. I feel like there are so many opportunities all around me, but I just can't take advantage of any of them unless I run into them at a point in my life where I have enough preparation and I've done enough things to lead to the point where I can take those opportunities. And I feel like studying the fundamentals with Kevin will give me such a good foundation to take advantage of other learning and art opportunities that I run into in the future. I've been following Happy D Artist for a long time now, and I remember watching her video about her quitting her job as a software engineer to pursue art full-time, like when I was in high school, then when I was in college, and I watched it again recently, and my viewpoint as I've been watching it has changed every time. In that video, she talked about how her job as a software engineer was not making her happy, but it made her money. But no matter how much effort and time she put into that career, it would never make her happy. On the other hand, art was something that made her happy, but it wasn't making any money. But if she put enough time and effort into it, then one day it might start making her money. So it just made sense to try and go for something that would make her happy, because that was something that was worth putting time and effort into to make it even better. So again, I don't really have any idea what kind of art-related job or career could fit the lifestyle that I'm looking for in my life, but I do know that the first step is putting myself in the position to succeed and gaining those art skills in the first place, and putting myself in an environment where there are other professional working artists who probably have way more ideas about this than I can even dream of. So yeah, this whole thing, it's not a career decision, it's not an art learning optimization decision. This is a personal exploration, gap year adventure that I'm going to be embarking on. And I fully acknowledge that I am extremely privileged to even have this opportunity right now. And I'm so excited to be able to share this journey with you guys as I go through it. I've still got some things to wrap up logistically, like subleasing this apartment, finding an apartment in New Jersey, and completing all my Evolve Artist homework, but I'm well on my way there. Please let me know what kind of stuff you want me to cover and what you want to know about. So yeah, thank you all for being my inspiration. I hope that this journey and this channel has been helpful to you so far, and that this next chapter goes well. Thank you for all the support you've given me over the years and for being the reason why I have this opportunity to pursue now. I'm also going to be visiting the studio in New Jersey later this month, talking to Kevin, looking at the classes, exploring the studio, and apartment hunting. So let me know anything you'd like to see from that visit, any questions for Kevin, questions about the school, just whatever. So yeah, big life changes. I've been really stressed and busy lately, but it's like a good kind of stress. It's the stress that I chose for myself, not the one that's like thrust upon me. In celebration of quitting my job, I've also started a coffee. So if these videos have been helpful to you and you want to gift me a little something, that's there. Of course, it's a totally optional tip jar, and I have no plans of making any sort of exclusive paid content. My role, first and foremost, is as a student on this crazy art journey and in life. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and remember that talent is a myth. Now, get back to work.